Well, hello everyone. It's August 5th, 2022. It's evening here on PEI. It is a humid day. I have to be honest. It's also for us very hot. PEI being a rather temperate place. Right at the moment, it's 30 degrees. A lot of places that's normal. That's not that bad. As a person who's lived on PEI all my life, uh, 30 degrees is hot for me. Like, you know, and it's, but the other thing about PEI is it gets very humid, and tonight is very humid. And that's probably the worst part of it. I could handle the heat if it was dry. It's never dry heat here. Anyway, so I'm doing, I have, well, you see a jumble of stuff in front of me, pens and inks. So it's currently inked. What do I have currently inked? And this is my third currently inked. I didn't do one for July. This was August 5th, so I'm doing this. Yeah, this is, this is the currently inked for July and August, we'll say. Anyway, I have some new pens, and I picked up, I think I have a couple new inks probably on the go. And I switched a few things around. I took some inks that I normally have in certain pens, and I cleaned up the pens and put different inks in. And I keep saying to myself, I'm going to cut down on the number of pens I have inked. I have this goal of reducing it. I see these wonderful people who have 3 pens inked, and that's really quite uh, something to admire, maybe, or not. I don't know. Maybe it isn't. I love one of the great things about fountain pen the fountain pen hobby, is the inks, and ink and pen combinations. I like to try to, if possible, match my inks and with a certain pen. So if a pen's a certain color, I try to match something along that line. I also have a thing for black and gold pens, and that allows me to try different inks. Somebody mentioned that, oh, you have a lot of black and gold pens. That's a little boring, but I also have some nice colored pens. Some a few reds, and I have some nice celluloid pens. And actually, I have I think I have 2 or 3 new pens, probably two, three new pens to show you. And I'm not too sure how many pens are here. We're just going to do a quick count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. That's, that's not too bad. I was trying to get it down to 10. 10 was my goal, and I have failed. And in the next few days, I'm going to be probably inking up a couple other pens. I have some old pens that I'm currently trying to fix up, and that's a lot of fun. And when I get them fixed up, I'll probably do a video on them, and they'll end up being in my currently inked video the next time I do one. I don't do one every month. I don't want to, but anyway, maybe every other month I'll do a currently inked, especially when I have something to show you. So let's start off with, well, this actually, I haven't done a video about this yet, and it is a snorkel. It's a SHAFFER Snorkel, and I was kindly given this by a friend. He gave me a bunch of old pens that he had sort of, he said that it's time for them to move on to someone else, which is a great thing. And I have been fixing them up and polishing them, or just cleaning them up and putting new sacks in them, doing a few different things, and that's a lot of fun. Not everybody is into not everyone is into vintage pens, and there is a reason why a lot of people aren't into vintage pens. But people who are into vintage pens know that, well, I hope they know that part of the fun of vintage pens is trying to get them to work. And they're finicky. They do require work. Sometimes they leak. Sometimes you have to clean them and it's a little difficult because they have a latex sac, or they need repairs or polishing. Sometimes they're missing nibs when you get them, so you have to spend time hunting around for something to suit. So this is a snorkel, SHAFFER Snorkel, and it has the Triumph nib. I can't really get a good view of that, which is actually, SHAFFER is a pen company. It's one of the old guard pen companies, and they made some. They were one of the leading pen companies. They came up with some really interesting ideas, and the Snorkel was one of them. Underneath the nib in the feed, there's a little metal tube. It's inside the body, and I'm not going to show you how it works right now. I'll do a video. I have done a video on a different snorkel, but this is mine. And so it's basically there's a turning knob here and a piston that you pull out and you push in. And when you turn it one way, the snorkel comes out, and you dip it in the ink, and you pull the plunger back, and you push it forward, and the ink goes up the snorkel and into the latex sac, and then you have to close it. The idea was that you wouldn't have to get your nib dirty, or also that you would be able to get the last bit of ink out of the pen. And SHAFFER today has sort of, I'm going to go out on a limb, it's sort of dropped off the radar of people who, nowadays, who are into fountain pens. They still, they became known for student pens and calligraphy pens and the SHAFFER No Nonsense and things like that. And the 80s and 90s were hard on SHAFFER in some ways, but I hope someday they'll come out with something that really comes out. They come out with some interesting products, hopefully, in the future. And there's still a lot of SHAFFERs on the market, the vintage ones, and the SHAFFER Snorkel is one of the interesting pens. And one of the things that I love about this pen is that nib. It is one of the best. Well, it's a beautiful nib. I love the shape of it. It's sort of wraps around the feed. It's exposed. It's got almost like a little, what would you call a fude nib. It's almost turned up at the end of it. It sort of comes up, and it's a beautiful, beautiful writer. It's very smooth. I think this is a 14K nib, SHAFFER Snorkel. And I had brought all these inks here to show you, and I just realized that I had forgotten the one that's in it. And I do know, I don't have it on the table here, but it's a Diamine Oxford Blue in this one. And Oxford Blue is probably my favorite blue. It's a blue black. It works in every pen I have, I find. And it's even brought to life a few pens that I've had that I've tried different inks in it, and they just never worked. And when I put Oxford Blue in it, for some reason, for me, they really came to life. And that's my experience, say, with my Sailor 1911 with an extra fine hard nib, I should say. It's like a nail. And it's very fine. It's like writing with a needle. And I never could find anything I really liked in it. When I put Oxford Blue in it, I loved it. But anyway, that's the SHAFFER Snorkel. And I'll do a video on this. Snorkel came in many different colors. The next one I have is, of course, my Opus 88. And so far, I've only ever had private reserve tanzanite. And I haven't bothered to put on any other ink in it, and probably because the Opus 88 it's an old pen, and it's a beautiful pen, and it writes beautifully. The private reserve works really well. Now, it is there's this turning knob at the end here. It's a piston filler, so there's ink all through the body. And I haven't really, because there are some seals in here and parts that are, you know, over years. They're delicate. I don't want to mess around and, you know, I don't want to clean this extensively and put another ink in it. So I'm always going to keep a tanzanite in it. It also looks really nice, suits the pen. I haven't actually done a video on this one. I'll have to do it. It's an Italian pen. It's inspired by, of course, the Parker 51, even though it's quite different. And possibly even nicer than the Parker 51. I'm going to say that. Well, the next little pen is one I just recently did a video on, and that's, of course, the Kaweco Sport. And I just have a blue cartridge in it that came with it. That's all I'm going to put in it. It's just a pocket pen that I carry around. I guess you can get converters for these. They're very small. Maybe when the cartridge runs out. Actually, I do have a couple empty cartridges around. Maybe someday I'll clean them out and put something else in it. But mostly I just pick up some blue. I put that in it. It works well when I need it. And that's, yeah, so that's in I'm going to put that in my pocket. I keep forgetting to do that. So that's in my pocket. This here is possible. Oh, actually, this here is a pen I don't know the name of. It has no branding on it that I can see. It might have at one time, maybe it wore off. It's a generic, I'm guessing this is a German pen. I don't think it's a Kaweco. It isn't a Geha, because if it was, there'd be a little button under the feed for the reservoir. I wonder if it's a Reform. It could be. But anyway, I have no idea. But it has a beautiful vintage George Peter Rupp nib. And he was a German pen manufacturer. He started off working for Kaweco in the early 1900s. He passed away in 1970. He made nibs for other major companies. So it's so George Peter Rupp. And it's a very expressive pen, and so far all I've ever put in it is Sherwood Green, the diamine, and and it really works well. And it's a lovely little pen. Sometimes a bit of ink. It's a very wet feed, but sometimes a little bit of ink gets on the section, and I get ink on my fingers, see? And I just have to remember to wipe that off. It's an old pen. It's still in good shape. But, you know, old pens, they have problems. And it's a hot day. You know, that happens. Wipe my hands off a bit. So for some reason I've always kept Sherwood Green in that one. This, of course, is just a Platinum Preppy. And I eyedroppered it. And as always with the Preppy, I can leave that sitting for quite a while and it starts up right away. No hesitation. And which is also quite remarkable, because I've put this emerald de Chevoir, excuse my Atlantic Canadian accent, in it, and it's a shimmer ink, so it hasn't clogged it up. It works every time I pick it up. It's and it's really nice in this little Preppy. Preppies are inexpensive, but they aren't a cheap pen. And what I mean by that is they don't cost a lot, but they're really well made. You know, you could spend a lot of money on a pen that's never going to write properly, and you can spend a little bit of money on a Preppy and it's going to write properly. And it's actually a lovely little writer. And I put the shimmer ink in it, and I eyedroppered the pen, and it's actually it's really nice to look at this when you can see the shimmer in the barrel. It's a clear barrel, and it's just attractive to me. So it just upped the game for the little Preppy, and it hasn't clogged up with the shimmer ink. It works perfectly, and turning a Preppy into an eyedropper pen is fairly straightforward. I did a video about it, and essentially what you do is you put a little O-ring up on the section, and you use some silicone grease on the threads, and you can fill the body of the pen full of ink, and it's just a fun thing to do. So that's that. This here, of course, is my Twisby Echo, and I guess if anybody's watched my videos, they know that my cement gray Twisby Echo always has platinum carbon platinum. My handwriting is bad here tonight. I'm trying to do this with a camera in my face. So I always have platinum carbon black in this. And the reason being is I use this pen all the time for a lot of different tasks. I'm an artist, and I'm also a picture framer, so if I'm writing out a receipt for somebody, I use the carbon black. If I am writing notes or something, I use the platinum carbon black. If I'm sending somebody a letter, I use the platinum carbon black to address the envelope, because it's water resistant. When it dries, if it gets wet, it doesn't bleed. And I also use it in my artwork. I put it in watercolors. So if I start drawing with this and then go over the drawing with watercolor, it doesn't bleed. And also I've done a light test on this, and it's very stable. It's very light fast. So if you're into fountain pens and you're looking for permanent black, platinum carbon black is the one I use, and I've had great success with it. So I'm very happy with that. Let's see, what else do we got here? Oh, this here is my Pelican 12 Sylvexa. And I have put a new ink in this one, and it's an ink I'm still getting used to. I just got this the other day. I was at my local bookstore, and it's of course the Diamine Inkvent Tempest. And when I was looking at the color swatch, it looked like a gray. There's some shimmer in it. You can see the gold in the bottom there. Yeah, so it has gold. It's a shimmer ink. It's from their Christmas Inkvent calendar. And I'm always looking for a gray that I might like. And actually, you know what? I like this. It actually looks more black. It quite reminds me of the Ferris Wheel Press Roaring Patina Black in many ways. And it's, actually, I was looking at this on a different paper, and it is a gray. I can see it as gray, but it's very dark, and there is a bit of shimmer in it. And I put it in this one. It's a shimmer ink, and I put it in a vintage pen because the feed on this is fairly simple. It's easy to clean and take apart, and it's also it has a broad nib. So I was hoping to, get the best effect with the gray, and I like it. It's very nice. Diamine is one of my favorite inks, and the bottle is beautiful. I just wanted to try it. I keep looking for a good ink, and a good gray ink, I should say, and hopefully I found it. And but it's very dark. It's still very good, but it runs closer to a black so far, in my experience. But I like it, But I still haven't found the gray that I'm looking for, and I don't think I ever will. Maybe it's just that I don't like grays. The next one is my Pilot Capless, or vanishing point, as some people call it. And I changed up the ink in this for, well, for the longest time, actually, since I had this, I had been using diamine ancient copper in this pen, but I went and changed it, and I decided to put Sailor Gentle ink Grenade, which, to be honest, is very, very similar, right? So it's you know, it's kind of a reddish, you know, rust color, and yeah, so I quite like it though. But it's very similar to what was in it before, which is fine. And the thing about this ink is it's been discontinued, which is sad because I'll show you in a bit. I have another Sailor ink that I used, but this is a nice 50 ml bottle, nice shape, good size, and I think they've gone into a smaller format for their inks, and I don't think the price went down. So they're, anyway. But anyway, that's a nice ink, and it works quite well in my Pilot Capless. This is my Lamy 2000, and you know, a classic pen, one of my favorite pens. And I didn't bring the ink with me, but what I have in this is, actually, what do I have in this? Oh, I know, it's the another Sailor ink, and it's the Sky High, I'm pretty sure. And it's quite nice. And once again, up until recently, the only ink I've ever put in this is the Oxford Blue, the Diamine Oxford Blue. And I just thought I'd try something new. I still prefer the Oxford Blue in it. The Sailor Sky High is quite nice too. And, you know, that's, you know, everybody has their favorites, right? And this, of course, is my Pilot. I don't know if you can see it, Pilot. Oop, I'm just making a mess here. Oh, this is dry. How about that? It must be empty. Okay, anyway, it's not currently inked. Anyway, and I don't think it's gone dry because it's never done that before. Oh, it's pretty much empty, yeah. I can just tell there. But yeah, so what I will do with that is clean it up, and I'm going to put blood orange in it. That's usually what I carry in this pen. The Diamine blood orange just suits the pen. I love the bottle. It comes in this little wedge shape. It reminds me of a piece of cheese. But the idea is this is an anniversary ink, and it comes in a variety of colors, and they if you get all of them, you can put them in a circle. So you can, you know, put all the bottles in a circle. I forget how many are in the anniversary series. I don't have them. I just have a couple. So yeah, so the Pilot E95S Diamine blood orange. And I really like that ink. It's a nice ink. I'm just gonna quickly run my nib across it like that. Probably shouldn't do that. But yeah, I always keep Diamine blood orange in it. And you know, the anniversary ink, there's a couple of really nice inks in it. There's a few that I'm just not interested in. That's why I haven't really gone too deep into that series. Oh yeah, my Twisty Vac Mini. One of my favorite pens. And as you can see, that looks off like, so the Twisty Vac Mini, that looks very much like the blood orange. And what it actually is this little Sailor Yodaki. So that's the color right there. And it just came in a little bottle, 20 milliliters. Nice little bottle. It's a nice ink. It's very similar to the Blood Orange. I just got this because I was interested in trying some more Sailor inks. Uh, by far, by far, Diamine is one of the more. It's a better. It's not as expensive. It's like they run $18 to $20 or whatever, and it's but and it's a very. I really like the Diamine, and I was just trying the Sailor, and I'll have to do a little test, someday with similar inks and just see how they work. But it is actually quite a nice ink, and I quite like it, even though it's very similar to other inks. You find that a lot of colors are very subtle differences, and some people will say, "Oh, that's exactly the same," and then somebody goes, "No, they're completely different." Anyway, so it's a nice ink, and up until recently, once again, the only thing I've ever kept in this pen is the Diamine Sherwood Green. I just thought I'd change it up, and it looks quite nice. This red ink looks very nice in this clear Twisby. The Twisty Vac Mini is one of my favorite pens. One of mine. I have so many favorite pens. Anyway, what else do we got going on here? I should wrap this up. It's going on a little long. So, of course, my Twisby, Vac 700 are Iris. I have Writer's Blood. And up until recently, I had Tanzanite in this all the time, but the Writer's Blood really works. Once again, excuse my handwriting. I'm sort of writing around a camera. Can't do several things at once. And I have bad handwriting. I won't lie. But anyway, I really like Writer's Blood. It's Diamine. And it looks really nice in this pen, especially with the multicolored trim on it. This is probably one of my favorite pens of all time. I won't lie. It's my Pilot Custom 74, and I put another Diamine ink in it. As you can see, I have a thing for Diamine inks. Did I even bring it? Yes, right here. And it's of course, the Aurora Borealis. And the Aurora Borealis, of course, is one of the Reddit inks. So there were three. There was Aurora Borealis, Earl Grey, and Writer's Blood. And I really like the Aurora Borealis. It's a lovely ink. It's a kind of a teal. There's a bit of blue cast to it, a bit of green. It's kind of a teal color. Really nice. I really like it, and it works really nicely in this pen. I've tried, oddly enough, I've had 3 or 4 different inks in this pen, and I like them all in it. It's a classic black and gold pen, and it has such a lovely soft medium nib. Okay, so the last pen, and I'm just throwing them all off to the side, is a new-ish pen to myself. It's a vintage pen. It is the Bayard Excelsior 552. I'm not going to write all that down. I'm just going to try to write. And I have, so the Bayard 552. And what I did is put a Kaweco nib in this pen. It's a vintage pen. I liked the body. The body was in good shape. The nib was problematic. It had a lot of use and was slightly worn and kind of scratchy and a little dry. And so I put a Kaweco sport nib in it, and I used a medium. Also, there was an issue with the feed on this pen. It was broken. That was one of the problems. And so I glued it back together just using crazy glue. Now, that's I had nothing to lose. The feed was broken, so I just thought, you know what? I'm going to give this a try and see if it worked. So I glued it together, and after it was glued and the glue it cured, I took a fine razor and I just cleaned out the channel so that there was no ink residue in it, and then I sanded down the parts where around the join where any ink had come out, just to make it smooth, and polished it up. And then yeah, I used the Kaweco Sport. It, oddly enough, its nib was exactly the same size as the vintage nib in it, and it works. Probably, I'd say they're both number 5 nibs, but I might be wrong. I'm not too sure exactly what the size of the Kaweco Sport nib is. I think it's a 5, but it works. And next time I'm doing an order, say from Goulet Pens, I should order a couple of their replacement nibs, you know, number 5 and a number 6, just to have in my stock. I have some other older nibs that I keep from, you know, I've taken some old junk pens apart for parts, and I keep the nibs and I keep the feeds and I keep all the parts, you know, and try to, you know, maybe hopefully someday they get reused. And of course I've put Aurora Borealis in this pen, and as you can see, it's running dry. Anyway, it's running dry because I've been writing with it a lot. So it actually comes out quite a bit darker than the Pilot Custom 74, and but it writes smoothly, it writes well. It has a latex sac in it. The lever doesn't work, so I pull this section off and I just squeeze the latex sac, and it fills up fairly straightforward, and then I just put it back in. It all works fairly straightforward. It's fairly easy. It's just, you know, it's a vintage pen. I might spend some time someday just trying to figure out what's going on with the lever. It might just be a matter of it being rusted in place. Who knows? Anyway, it all is part of the fun of vintage pens. But anyway, that's my currently inked list. You know, more than I was hoping. But that's part of the fun. Oh, wait. I forgot one. And this is, of course, a Wherever. And Wherever was an American company. It's a vintage pen from the late 1930s. Don't really have a name for it. And I have Noodler, Black Swan, and English Roses in this. And it comes out very dark because I run out of room. It comes out very dark, but it works quite well with this pen. You know, it's a lovely little pen. Wherever it wasn't known for making great pens, they made a great number of pens. Quantity over quality. But this is a nice little example of a late 1930s Wherever, a celluloid pen, probably not the highest grade celluloid, but a nice pen nonetheless. And yeah, I've seen it online. I've come across this pen online, and I've seen the name Supreme associated with it, and a couple others names. So I'm not too sure exactly what name does apply to this pen. But yeah, a nice little example of a Wherever. And anyway, so that's what I have going on. I'll probably do another of these in a couple months. And anyway, I hope you're having a great day. And it's hot and muggy here. I hope it's nicer or nice wherever you are. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you're new around here, I invite you to subscribe to the channel. It's great to have new people coming in. And if you have any comments, I'd like to know how many pens you have inked up. And have you tried any of these inks? Have you tried any of these pens? What combinations have you tried? I'd love to hear those in the comments. So anyway, talk to you soon. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.